Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle one of those financial headaches that, let's be honest, drives us all a little crazy. We're going to demystify your money and show you how to get absolute clarity on your finances.
Have you ever had that moment? You look at your business account, then you look at your own records, and you just think, wait a second, that can't be right. This question is exactly why we're here. Look, it's a super common problem, but the good news? The solution is actually pretty straightforward. So let's just call this what it feels like, right? A mystery. You've got one set of clues, your records, and then the bank has a totally different set. And our job together is to play detective and figure out what's really going on with your cash. I mean, it happens all the time, right? You make a sale, you pay a bill, you're tracking everything diligently. But when that bank statement finally lands, it feels like you're looking at a report from a totally different dimension. This gap between what you expect and what's real is where the confusion starts, but it's also where our investigation begins.
Okay, so to solve any mystery, you need the right tools. And the first piece of evidence we're going to look at is your own record keeping. Let's think of it as your business's financial diary.
Let's dive in. So this financial diary, its official name is the cash book. It's the go-to primary record for every single transaction, and you log everything in the order that it happens. Really, just think of it as the story of your money, a story that you're writing every single day.
And here's the really crucial part. Your cash book is meant to be your single source of truth. When you get paid, it goes in. When you pay somebody, it comes out. It's that simple. It is ground zero for really understanding where your money is going. And, at its heart, a cash book is it's beautifully simple. It's really just two sides of a story. On one side, you've got all the money coming in, your receipts. And on the other, all the money flowing out, your payments. That's it. That simple two-sided story is really the bedrock of financial control.
All right, so that's our side of the story, our cash book. But remember, in this little drama, there's another major character, and it has its own version of events, the bank. So let's take a look at their records.
And this right here, this is the heart of the issue. You've got your cash book, which you update the second something happens. And then you've got the bank statement, which is the bank's official record, but it's always a little bit behind. They are both tracking the exact same money, but they're doing it from totally different perspectives and on slightly different timelines.
So, yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? If it's all the same money, what's the deal? And the answer, almost every single time, boils down to one simple word: timing. You write a check on Tuesday, but your supplier doesn't cash it until Friday. You deposit some money, but it hasn't cleared yet. These little delays are what create those temporary gaps.
So what do we do about it? How do we solve this thing?
Well, it's time to bridge that gap. Instead of thinking of these two records as being in conflict, we're going to use a process that makes them work together. This is how we put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Okay, it's time to meet your new best friend, the bank reconciliation statement. Now, this thing isn't just some boring report. It's the tool you use to perfectly explain every single difference. Think of it like a decoder ring that finally makes sense of everything. And the process? It's actually way more straightforward than you might think. First, you just sit down with both documents and you tick off everything that matches. It's kind of like playing one of those spot the difference games. Next, you identify and circle everything that doesn't match. And finally, you adjust your own book for stuff you might have missed, like a tiny bank fee, and then you list out the remaining items to explain the gap completely. Simple.
So what are these differences we're looking for? Well, they're rarely a big surprise. Most of the time, it's about that timing thing we talked about. You've got stuff like checks you wrote that the other person just hasn't cashed yet. Accountants call them outstanding checks, or maybe it's deposits that are still processing. And other times, it's smaller things, like a bank service charge you didn't know about, or maybe an automatic payment you forgot to write down. These few things usually explain pretty much everything.